What is up, everybody? Welcome to my latest video. It has been a while. Not that anyone notices, not that anyone cares. But I keep pushing this video off. One, because I just haven't really felt up to doing a live video. But two, going over the content, I realize I'm a little bit in the dark on this series, this franchise, but not too much in the dark that I can't talk about it. So without further ado, tonight's topic, analyzing the Halloween franchise. Every single one of them. You're going to get my thoughts on them. Now, I'm going to tell you straight up. Did I watch all these recently? No. Am I aware of what some of them are? Yes. Am I aware of what some of them aren't? Yes. There are certain films in this franchise that I don't really remember them, so I really can't say much about them, but I'll do my best. I'm not a professional. Obviously, if I was, I'd have graphics on here, but I'm just a schmo on YouTube promoting my channel, giving you good content that you didn't ask for, but gosh darn it, that's why I'm here. Without further ado, analyzing the Halloween. See, a professional would edit that out, but not Justin. Analyzing the Halloween franchise. So, Halloween came out in 1978. It stars, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis, and it is about Michael Myers, the serial killer with a knife who was attacking his baby sister, Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, throughout pretty much the entire series of the film. Oh, excuse me. Now, in terms of a slasher film, this is what started it all. Halloween was inspired to be made by Psycho and Black Christmas, which came out before Halloween, obviously. So John Carpenter watched those and he was like, I'm going to make my own damn horror film. In terms of a horror film, a slasher film, you can't argue. I'm not even going to argue it like I do in most of my videos. The first one is iconic. The first one is a classic. You can't rip it apart. You probably could dissect it a little bit, but you can't really rip it apart. So on its own, as the first of the franchise, I would say it's tops, right? Also, it stars Donald Pleasance as Michael Myers' psychiatrist. I don't know about anybody else, but I find him to be the most refreshing part of the series. Up until, like, when he dies in, like, 95. But even then, he seems like a raving lunatic, and he's just like, Michael, I have to stop him. He's like that for most of the series, but I find him very refreshing. I feel like he's what, like, I wouldn't say keeps Michael together because Michael's completely unhinged and psychotic, but I guess he's what, like, keeps Michael coming back, right? There's always gonna be that one guy that's just like, he's psychotic, I can help him. It's like, dude, it's been like 6 films. Can you really help him at this point? So yeah. So you know what the first film's about, obviously. The budget to make this film was $300,000 to $325,000, which is crazy. You know how much money it made? $70 million. So, in terms of, if you remember watching if you watched my last video, right? I broke down the the budgets and the money for the Friday the 13th franchise. I would say that, yeah, I can see why they wanted to make a sequel for this. Absolutely. If it only took $300,000 to make, and they made like 50 times that. But yeah, the first film, absolute classic. Let's move on. Halloween 2 came out in 1981. Different director because John Carpenter never directs another Halloween film. But he does become a screenwriter and director and a producer for this one. Halloween 2, of course, Michael Myers is back. We're going to do the same thing that we did for Friday the 13th. I'm curious as to how many people played Michael Myers, because technically you could put anybody in that damn mask, right? So in the first film, Michael Myers was played by Nick Castle as The Shape. Also, full disclosure, let's get this out of the way. Fun fact for those living under a rock, the iconic Michael Myers mask is actually an unfinished white William Shatner mask. That is true. And he was known as The Shape. Also, let's talk about the first one because I always don't. The one knock I have on it. Okay, so they do mention that 6-year-old Michael Myers brutally stabs his teenage sister Judith to death with a chef's knife. Samuel Loomis okay. It's been a while since I've seen the film, but how much of his past do we see? I would argue, at least to my memory, if it serves me right, we don't really see much. We don't really know much. We just know that it happens, he stabs and kills her, he's institutionalized, he gets out, and he's a killer. Am I wrong on that? The reason I like the Rob Zombie franchise of Halloween better in regards to this is because it talks about that in detail. But I'll address that when we get to it. I might have just spoiled my own damn video, but oh well. Alright, Halloween 2. It's a direct sequel, immediately picks off as a cliffhanger after the cliffhanger ending. This is one thing that I actually like about this. Most horror films, sequels, think about it. How many of them pick up exactly where the first one left off? Or other ones prior? Not many, right? This one deliberately and distinctly picks up right where the first one left off, which is cool. Dr. Loomis is still running around like an idiot. Michael Myers is played by Dick Warlock, whoever that is. Carpenter was reluctant to extend his involvement and mostly refused to direct, instead appointing the direction to Rosenthal. Let's see. $2.5 million to make, made $25.5 million. It also introduces a plot twist of Laurie Strode being the sister of Michael Myers, an element that would, from the narrative arc of the series and the subsequent films of Halloween after Halloween 2, including Rob Zombie and the sequels, but was dropped from the current series canon from the 2000 film onwards. Wait, what? It also introduces the plot twist of Laurie Strode being the sister of Michael Myers. Okay, so we don't know that in the first film. I thought that was introduced in the first film. An element that would form the narrative arc of the series and the subsequent films after Halloween 2, including the remake and its sequel, but was dropped from the current series canon from the 2018 film onwards. Well, when we get to that, I will discuss my thoughts on it. But based off of the look on my face, I think you might know where I'm going with this. Okay, so Michael Myers, Halloween 2, falls off the balcony, but he's not dead. We find out that it's the sister. We find out that they're related. Michael Myers is her brother. And Laurie watches Michael engulfed in flames, but he doesn't die. And I will address Michael Myers as a whole afterwards. Whoops, I hit too many buttons. What do I think of Halloween 2? Again, I do remember this one. I like it. It's pretty straightforward. It picks up right where the first one left off, which I said is a very... you're on live, Justin. I'm aware. It's a good key element to have, right? Typical slasher, goes around killing people, but he's always chasing Jamie Lee Curtis, right? Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Oh, I should probably skip this, but I'm not going to because I'm going to read into why the fuck they decided to make the third one have nothing to do with Michael Myers. Technically, I now question to this day, okay, for those living under a rock, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch has nothing to do with the first two or any of the other Halloween films. Doesn't have Michael Myers in it, and it has its own song, and it has its own plot, and is completely derivative of any other Halloween film in the franchise. So why the fuck do they call it Halloween 3 and keep it in the franchise? It should just be called Season of the Witch. Right? Hell, I would even argue that it should be called Silver Shamrock. Fun note, I've never seen the damn film. Don't really care to for that simple notion that it has nothing to do with the rest of the franchise. So let's find out why the fuck it's not in. Halloween 3 is the only entry in the series that does not feature the series antagonist Michael Myers. After the film's disappointing reception and box office performance, Michael Myers was brought back 6 years later in Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Well, why did you do it to begin with? Are we going to get that? Alright, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill believe that the Halloween series could have been an anthology series of films that centered around Halloween night, with each sequel containing its own characters, setting, and storyline. Director Wallace stated that there were many ideas for Halloween-themed films, some of which could have potentially created any number of their own sequels, and that Season of the Witch was meant to be the first. As with the series of other films, suspense and tension are key themes, exploring the violence. Okay. $4.6 million to make. It only made 14.4, so it doubled its money, but barely. But it was still the poorest film. Most critics gave the film negative reviews, though reevaluation in the later years has given Halloween 3 its own reputation as a standalone cult film. It was the last Halloween film distributed by Universal Pictures. Okay. So, when approached about creating a third Halloween film, original Halloween writers John Carpenter and Deborah Hill were reluctant to pledge commitment. Carpenter and Hill agreed to participate in the project only if it was not a direct sequel to Halloween 2, which meant Michael Myers would not be the focus of the film. But why would you do that? The whole point of a sequel is that it's a sequel to your other two films. If you wanted to do something else different, you would separate it from that franchise. Why am I explaining this to you like you don't know? I don't know. We all sit here and we blow smoke up John Carpenter's ass and praise him as one of the greatest horror directors of all time. But after reading that, guess what? Hot take, I think John Carpenter's overrated. I think he's a hack. Why would you create a third sequel in the Halloween franchise that you made and say, I don't want the guy that makes the money for me in these films to be in it? When in the history of filmmaking has that ever been done? If ever, and after, before and after, has it ever been done? Oh man. Oh, excuse me. Original director recruited veteran. Okay, wait. To write the original screenplay, mostly because he and Carpenter were admirers of his Quatermass series. So basically, he took this idea of another series. It is our intention to create an anthology out of the series, sort of along the lines of Night Gallery or Twilight Zone. You fucking wish, John Carpenter. You fucking wish. Each year, a new film would be released that focused on this some aspect of the Halloween season. Then why didn't you do that? Is that what the problem was? Did you come up with this idea before you created Michael Myers? And then you're like, oh shit, I kind of wanted to do an anthology series, but I already called this one Halloween. But you still could have, I don't know. I don't know. You still could have made a Halloween series separate from this. You could have called it Season of the Witch, a Halloween anthology. I don't know. But instead, you've somehow fucked up your own franchise by putting something in it that has nothing to do with any of it. Like the internet will forever have Season of the Witch listed as a Halloween film until John Carpenter or somebody else says, take that shit out. It has nothing to do with it. But they won't think of that because it makes too much sense. Okay. All right. Season Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. I don't remember this one. This is the one. This is the. I really can't talk. To anybody who watches this that's not my friend and watches it on YouTube and says, get more professional, buddy, right here. Don't care. Uh, this one is similar to the Friday the 13th franchise. Remember? I don't remember the ones with Tommy Doyle in them because, I mean, they're interchangeable to me. Like, unless something specific happens, they all just kind of run the same to me. That's how I feel about Halloween 4. Don't remember it. Danielle Harris, however, is in this. This is her film debut. So, okay, Justin, for reference, this is when Danielle Harris made her film debut. Okay. It marks the return of Michael Myers as the primary and ignores the events of Halloween 3 because it has nothing to do. Budget $5 million. Box office 17.8. Doubled its money, but did it really? People were happy to see Michael Myers again, but at what cost, right? See, they should have just stuck with what the fans wanted. All right, let's see what we got here. Michael Myers, who has become comatose for 10 years since the explosion, is being transferred to the sanitarium. Michael overhears that he has a niece living in Haddonfield. He awakens, kills the ambulance. Okay. Dr. Loomis, of course, has survived. I don't think Jamie Lee Curtis is in this. No, because she supposedly faked her death. Tom Morgan and George P. Wilbur as Michael Myers. Okay, so the niece is Danielle Harris. So he finds out that he's a family member, and apparently, for whatever fucking reason, Michael Myers is like, I have a family member out there. I should be the only member of my family left. And he immediately goes to try to find her and try to kill her. Why? I don't know. Is it ever explained? I don't know. Since young Danielle Harris is in this, I'll say that this is probably it's a good change in direction of where the film should have gone in the third one, but since we've already talked about that, I'll say that 4 was decent, right? Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Really? 5 films in and we're calling it The Revenge? Okay. Donald Pleasance, because Dr. Loomis is still running around like a raving fucking lunatic, and you'll love to see it, right? Danielle Harris is back, a bunch of other people. You have Jamie Lloyd, with whom he now shares a telepathic connection. So Danielle Harris has now become like the focal point heroine of Halloween, right? But we have to go back to 4 for a second because apparently the film begins the Thorn trilogy story arc, which would be continued in 5 in The Curse of Michael Myers. Okay. I definitely don't remember this one. The original screenplay, which was still under revision at the time, introduced elements of supernatural horror, including Jamie possessing a telepathic link to Michael Myers, as well as a storied subplot in which Myers, under the influence of a cult centered around the ancient rune of Thorn, is driven to kill his bloodline. Oh, the very thing I just mentioned, Justin. If you just wait a little bit. Okay. So they had to throw that in because technically, if you're going to throw in a subplot, a reason why he goes around killing his family, by the fifth film, we should already know. We should have already known by 2 or 3, but since 3 has nothing to do with any of the other films, and you didn't think of it in 2 or 3 or 4, then 5, okay. You know what also, you know what franchise also suffers from this? Terrifier. I should make a I should make a video ripping apart Terrifier. Can't stand that franchise. All you people that love Art the Clown, right here. I'm so savage tonight, and I don't even care. All right, 5. While the final cut of the film features a mysterious man in black character, the Curse of Thorn subplot was largely minimized, resulting in audiences and critics expressing some confusion, though it was expanded in the following film, Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers. Okay, so you introduce a subplot, but then you realize you don't want to do it, even though it explains certain things that you wanted to originally put in. You you send it out into the world. Fans are confused, and you're like, shit, we have to go back and explain that now because people are confused. Do you see me talking like this for any other franchise? I didn't even think it was going to be this bad. I really didn't. Ugh. Okay. What do I think of 5? I don't know. It's slap dab in the middle, so maybe it's good. I don't really know. Ramsey Thomas. See, now John Carpenter's probably exhausted all rights to it. Oh, God. The Curse of Michael Myers. It's not even called Halloween 6. It's just called Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers. 3 totally different people. Came out in 95. I believe this is the final appearance of Pleasance as Dr. Loomis before his death. I mentioned Tommy Doyle. Tommy Doyle is this, not Friday the 13th. I'm thinking of, yeah, the other guy. Totally blanking. So Tommy Doyle is in this, not Friday the 13th. This also marks the last major role of George P. Wilbur before his death in 2023. Okay. Interesting. So he played Michael Myers. I just remember this one being like, I do remember this one. Yep, Jamie gets abducted by the man in black in his druid-like cult. That's why I remember this one, because of the cult, the weird cult thing. Because for some reason, never mind. Basically, yeah. So this one's probably like a breakdown. They're trying to connect everything, like how she's related to Laurie, how why everyone gets killed by Michael Myers, and this whole thing, like it dates back centuries, something like that. Yeah. Tommy Doyle and Loomis go to the sanitarium. Yeah. I would say this one probably shouldn't have been made. Should not have been made. And then we get Halloween H2O 20 years later. Jamie Lee Curtis is back. H2O is a soft reboot that serves as a direct sequel to Halloween and Halloween 2, ignoring the Thorn timeline story arc of the previous three installments. It follows a post-traumatic Laurie Strode who has faked her own death in order to go hiding from her murderous brother Michael Myers, who finds her working at a private boarding school in California. Okay. One thing that apparently this franchise loves to do is ignore prior films and subplots that it created. And I would argue that that's probably a really dumb thing to do, because if you originally went with it and thought it was a good idea, stick with it. Don't confuse us 5, 6, 7 films later, you know? It doesn't really make any sense. This is the one that has Michelle Williams, LL Cool J, Adam Arkin, Janet Lee. Jamie Lee Curtis's mother is in this, apparently. And then Josh Hartnett plays her son. You know, the son she didn't have in the first two films. But apparently, well, obviously she was still young in those, but she has a son, and then it's never really referenced again, probably, right? Because why would it be? So Halloween, it came out in 1998. So this is clearly a cash grab for the Scream series, right? Scream had come out 2 years prior. They're like, hey, let's bring back the Halloween series. You know, the last one was in '95, but Scream was a big hit a year later. Took 17 million to make and made 75 million. Because again, you're bringing back an iconic film franchise and you're banking off the success that Scream had as a slasher film. So naturally, two and two go together. What did I think of this one? A, I would say, I don't like the fact that it disregards its entire history. I hate that. I hate that so much. And if I'm saying it now, you already know where I'm going to go into a full fledged breakdown by the time we get to the reboots. Halloween Resurrection. Jamie Lee Curtis dies in this. Michael Myers kills her. Laurie Strode gets killed by her brother Michael Myers. Halloween Resurrection. Busta Rhymes is in this one. If you told me which uh, which one is a rapper in, I obviously would be confused because Busta Rhymes is in this one, LL Cool J is in the other one. But yes, the only thing you need to know, this was the final installment of the H2O timeline under the Halloween franchise, which had just been rebooted with the previous film in 1998. Before it was rebooted again, okay. You can only reboot a film so many freaking times. Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode, dies in this one. That's all you need to know. Is it a good film? I don't really care. That's irrelevant to me. We're not talking about whether or not I think the films are good at this point. I'm talking about, I'm analyzing the films. That's what I'm doing. The Rob Zombie one happened in 2007. I like this one. I actually like this one better than the original. Justin, how can you like something better than the original? I don't know, but I do. Because this one actually expands more on him as a child. Like how dark and twisted he is. We don't see that in the original. At least I don't think we do. In this one, we see it for like a good quarter of the film of him as a young boy slowly wearing masks and just slowly getting deeper and darker, killing his family and going to like a sanitarium. Malcolm McDowell plays Dr. Loomis. I believe our former wrestler plays Michael Myers, if I'm correct. Tyler Maine. Brad Dourif is the sheriff. Uh, Daniel Harris is a friend of Laurie Strode. Yeah, Laurie Strode, which is who's played by. Why am I blanking on her name? I just saw her on TV yesterday. Scout Taylor Compton. And of course, Rob Zombie's wife plays Deborah Myers, the mother of Michael Myers. I like this one because, again, it talks from the beginning of what drives Michael Myers as a boy to madness. How he grows up to be this behemoth. There's the other thing. In the other films, Michael Myers just looks like a man in a mechanic's suit, right? In this one, he looks like a man possessed, right? A man on a mission. He's got long hair. He's just big and bulky, and you don't want to fuck with him, right? The mystique. I love the mystique of this film. Also, there's not really plot holes, and if there is, I don't notice them because the movie's badass. The second one, just as good. So again, I would argue, and it's not really an argument, but I would say that the first two Rob Zombie ones, while I think they're better, I would say that they're as good if you like the original as the first two original ones, if that makes sense. Okay. Unfortunately, Michael Myers, Rob Zombie only made 2 Halloween films. He could have made 3, but decided not to. Also, let's see how much money did this make? That's the big old question, isn't it? Resurrection made 37.6. That was probably average. Okay, Rob Zombie comes into the picture, and 15 million to make it. It made 80.4 million. That's because people love Rob Zombie and they wanted to see what this was going to be about, right? Second one, I just talked about it. 15 million to make, 39.4. In 2018, Halloween was remade. And you know who's back? Jamie Lee Curtis. But her character got killed off in Resurrection. I know. And this is why I absolutely fucking hate this. I hate this film. I hate the 2 that follow after it because it makes no logical sense. Other than the fact that they wanted Laurie Strode, well, hell, they wanted Jamie Lee Curtis to have the last say, right? To have her swan song, and that she would be the one that comes out on top. This one completely disregards Resurrection, H2O, 4, and 5. Completely disregards it. As far as they're concerned, it's 1 and that's it. They don't even acknowledge 2. They also apparently don't acknowledge the fact. Hold on. Let's see here. Laurie Strode, the sole survivor of Michael Myers' 1978 killing spree, suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Laurie's estranged daughter. They give her an estranged daughter, again, because the son was only in the ones that they disregarded. She's a sole survivor. Remember, they scrapped the fact that it was his sister. Why would they scrap that? That's kind of important. That's kind of a big deal. Now it's just, it's a slasher film. This guy is just, wreaking havoc on Haddonfield, the name of the town. And Laurie Strode's one of the only remaining survivors. Why did you bring her back to begin with? And I could almost forgive that if you then hadn't said, it's actually not his sister now. You can't reboot You can't reboot a bunch of shit over and over again and expect people to be like, oh yeah, I'm totally into that. Some people are because they're stupid and they're horror junkies and they just want that, that fix, right? I'm not a horror junkie, at least not in that sense. I want things to make sense. Am I the minority there? Like, I don't know. And then, of course, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. Halloween Kills. Oh, yeah, by the way, Halloween 2018, hated it. Just because of that whole storyline I just broke down for you. Halloween Kills. You know why I hate this one? Because the first one was made, for one. But also, the town of Haddonfield corners Michael Myers. They make a whole freaking circle on him on a block. And they proceed to beat the ever-loving shit out of him. They take his mask off. He's just a dude. He's just this old guy in a mask. Which makes even... He doesn't talk. He's just an old guy in a mask. And technically, he's not Laurie Strode's brother anymore, so he lacks that. He doesn't talk. It's just a dude, an old guy in a fucking suit. It just doesn't work. And of course, they beat the crap out of him, and he doesn't die because, this guy's been wreaking havoc for 40 years. Let's beat him. Let's beat him up, but let's not kill him. We have to make another film for that. And then, of course, we get Halloween Ends, which also takes another one of Laurie's granddaughter, because her daughter died, and the daughter's boyfriend. They accuse him of being Michael Myers or being possessed by Michael Myers. I don't know. They possess him. I guess they think that he's doing the killing with Michael Myers too. It makes no fucking sense. It's literally when they thought Tommy Doyle was the killer, and when they thought that the other guy in Friday the 13th. It was that same arc, that same subplot. Finally, however, Michael Myers dies in an operating room or downstairs in a basement where Jamie Lee Curtis just tortures him, burns him, and then she has a love interest we're supposed to care about. And this is why I don't like the Halloween franchise after 2, because what the fuck are you doing? This is why I like the Rob Zombie ones better, because they connect. They're thorough. They're detailed. They make sense. They don't take other things out from their originals. Did you like my complete and utter breakdown of Halloween, the Halloween franchise? In conclusion, the first one, classic. The second one, great. 3, why is it even considered a part of the franchise? 4, the Danielle Harris debut, I'm for it. 5, don't remember it. 6, don't remember it. H2O 20 years later, cash grab. Resurrection, why make it if you're not going to acknowledge it years later? 2018, crap. Kills, crap. Ends, crap. Overall of the franchise, 2 thumbs down. Hot take.